afternoon, cult members, and welcome to Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And this is going to be our non-spoiler review, our discussion, our review of The Boys. We didn't talk about this before. We should probably do show notes before we start.
Probably. It'll be freeform.
It'll be a freeform review of The Boys from Amazon Prime. Now, we're going to start this conversation off with, we had no clue about this comic until they announced the series.
Okay.
Well, I had no clue of the series.
Okay. Did you wait until after it was announced to buy the books?
I actually bought the first two runs, the trade paperbacks, after they announced it. So I wanted to be like up to date and stuff like that on what they're doing when they announced it. So I had no idea they announced it. And the reason I was excited about this was Carl Urban.
Right. Yep.
Carl Urban in a comic book show?
Yeah. And Simon Pegg, but he's not in it a ton.
Right.
Like, hardly at all.
So one of the main characters in the book, his name is Huey, and he is actually drawn like Simon Pegg. Like Simon Pegg is the basis of why he looks the way he does. And so when they announced the series, they were all like, he has to play Huey. I mean, it's like required that he played Huey.
Right.
And they just couldn't get the schedule to work right. But they were able to have him come in and play Huey's dad. So that...
Okay. That explains why he's Huey's dad and not Huey.
Yeah. So,
Jack Quaid is Huey, and that is Meg Ryan and Dennis Quaid's son. So all of Meg Ryan's children are apparently in movies now, with different men.
And it's very weird right now. We got Harlequin Smith, you have Jack Quaid, you have Robin Thurman. What is her name? Maya Thurman, who played Robin in Stranger Things. It's like everybody's kids are now.
Hawk.
Is it Hawk?
Yeah.
Did she take off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maya Hawk.
But it's everybody's famous kids are now getting into acting.
Right. Well, and Meg Ryan's daughter is the girl in 50 Shades, but with not Antonio Banderas and not Dennis Quaid. Johnson.
Don Johnson?
Don Johnson.
Dakota Fanning?
Dakota Johnson.
Dakota Johnson.
Yeah.
But see, we're gonna wait. We're here to talk to you about famous actors' kids and not actually review the show. I have thoughts about the show, but I want to get your overall thoughts before I kind of go into it.
Well, so I had no emotional connection, as we said.
Right.
And I really liked it. I thought it was really good. They didn't shy away from the blood and the violence, although I don't really, after Game of Thrones.
Right.
I mean, there was a couple, everybody's seen in the last trailer they released, last week or the week before, where the speedster guy basically disintegrates somebody.
Right.
And, I think that's probably as bloody as it gets, but I thought the overall story was good.
Right. I'm very torn with this. The story itself doesn't follow the comic. What it does do, though, is take all the elements that are from the comic and reorganizes them in a way that makes it more acceptable for a viewing audience. So about the best way I can try to explain it. I would have been way okay with them doing a shot-for-shot remake of this show. It is debaucherous, bloody, violent, gory. They use all of the swear words, forwards and backwards and everything. But I don't think if they would have gone that full bore the way they could, the way they can in a comic, if they had done that on the TV show, I don't think it would have be as well received. I think it's about the best way I can kind of.
Yeah, it might have been over the top.
It was yes, and there was also some story elements that they do in the comic that they would have to have done in a 12 or 15 episode series instead of an 8-hour series.
Right.
And setting up a lot of stuff and things. So with all that being said, I really liked this series. I like this series for taking those elements and rearranging it and making it make sense for people who haven't read the book, but not be so dishonest from the book that you're like, this is like they just use the character names in the title. That wasn't what they did. They actually went through and got all the important elements and added them in, and so I'm able to disassociate the two from each other, but still like them for the same reasons.
Right. That makes sense.
And I would have liked to see them go a little bit more on the violent end, but like you said, we've seen the. Actually, what I really wanted to see is the full debauchery of the Seven, which is what they really kind of lean into in the book.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that they, they go into this bar where the not heroes, what do they call them? Soups, that's right.
The soups.
Can all go and let their hair down. And so I think they touched on it enough there that you understand that these people aren't generally nice.
Nice or good.
Or good.
Or good. The cool thing about this, and this is not really a spoiler, but the cool main thing about this is that there's no direct protagonist. There's not one direct, this is the bad guy. Like one episode, you're like, this is the bad guy. And then you go to the next episode, and you're like, no, that's not the bad guy. This is the bad guy.
Yeah.
And then you go back, and you're like, no, neither one of them are the bad guy. This person over here is the bad guy.
And I would say the same is true for the good guy as well.
Right.
I mean, Huey's probably the closest thing you get to a good guy. But even he slips into this world and, becomes different.
Yeah, very much. For a cast that is, for the most part, not greatly known for one big role. I mean, we've talked about how, the Jack Quaid's in it. Erin Moriarty plays Annie, who's Starlight.
Yeah, I think it's Starlight.
She's got a ton of credits to her name, but nothing where you're like a big, like whatever. And Simon Pegg, he's only really kind of in it for a little bit.
Yeah.
But this show only gets made because Carl Urban said yes to it.
Right.
And has really appreciated it. Like he's been full in from jump.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if he was
executive producer
or a creative force behind getting it done or whatever.
Yeah.
But everybody's performance is really good.
Yeah.
And back to what we were saying, like you don't know who really is the good guy, who's the bad guy, and the emotional. Oh, Elizabeth Shue is in this.
Yeah.
We're terrible.
Yeah, but I don't know. I guess she's one of those weird popular. You're like, oh yeah, Elizabeth Shue. She's in stuff.
Adventures in Babysitting.
I mean, you look at her credits and you're like, oh yeah. But yeah, I can't say that there's any one thing that, Carl Urban.
Right. Come on.
Yeah, Star Trek and
Carl frickin' Urban.
Yeah.
Bones and Lord of the Rings and the story, the way they do the story is very interesting, and I appreciate that they touched on a ton of social issues. There wasn't necessarily social issues, but they touched on like gay rights and religion and accountability and government oversight, and they kind of touched on all these things without like smacking you in the face with it.
Yeah. And there was a bunch of them that they touched on. It wasn't any one thing. Right. It wasn't. There was several.
But the main thing is, for me at least for this series, was the idea of being yourself, like being comfortable with who you are and not trying to get sucked into the what everybody else thinks what you should be.
Yeah.
And I really felt like that was kind of what was Huey and Annie's kind of both their story arcs were going that same direction.
Yes, they were going that same direction separately.
And sometimes together.
Sometimes.
But I really think that the story they did was really well. It's left open-ended, not open-ended like the comic, but left open-ended. The second trade paperback, the second run of the book, deals with Russia, and in this series, soups in Russia is what a lot of what the second book is about.
Okay.
And they kind of set up something along that line.
Probably not Russia.
Probably not Russia.
Because I did see one date stamp or a reference to a date, and it was 2012. So sort of current.
Yeah, they talked about like it's set in today's world, but it's like if the Marvel Cinematic Universe were set inside the real world. So like we get posters for all the movies, but they are actually like getting posters of the real superheroes who are really saving people and stuff. And,
right. Yep.
And I just thought, I liked what they did overall for the series. I liked all the performances. I would have liked them to do it, the way the comic was, but I really appreciated the way that the show was.
Yeah, and we binged it all yesterday. It's 8 episodes. They're about an hour a piece, so it's pretty easy to do in a day. I think it was probably 11:30 by the time we were done, but it was like, okay, we have one more episode, but we'll power through.
We got to get through this because and it wasn't like a power through because we felt obligated to finish it. Like we were powering through because we were sucked into the story.
Yeah.
And and it was totally like the story is keeping us engaged, even though there's all this stuff going on. And we both have been drinking all afternoon, and eyes were really heavy, and so yeah, it was totally worth it. So go watch the series The Boys. I forgot what I was going to say there. Go watch the series The Boys and let us know what you thought in the comments. Like this video. Be nice. Like this video. Subscribe to the channel. Help us out on Patreon. We're working towards a goal there. And we're also on all the social media stuff. Instagram, Facebook, sometimes Twitter, whatever.
Yep.
Stardust. All of those links are down here in the description down below. And until next time, good afternoon, cult members.